Okay, welcome back. This is Ryan again, and we're working on part 4 of my Android RecyclerView tutorial. So this part is going to be quite short. It's basically as simple as building a layout and swapping out a couple of lines of code. And what we're going to be doing is making our RecyclerView display card views or card widgets instead of just like a standard list view style recycler view. So there's honestly not a whole lot going on in this tutorial, so I think we're going to be able to wrap it up pretty quick. So one thing before we get started, what I would suggest is at this point, if you haven't done this already, go ahead and check your project in with what do you call that, revision control, or make a copy of the project or just some of the source files, namely derp adapter. And the reason why I would suggest you do that is after this tutorial we're actually going to be continuing on from part 3b, and the reason for that is I started out thinking that I was going to maybe have the user capable of switching from a card view to a more standard list view looking recycler view as a feature of the app. But what I realized pretty quickly is that not only would setting that up be quite outside the purpose of this tutorial, but it would just be a bunch of extra steps, and I don't really want to waste your time, and I don't really want to waste my own time, because my own time is quite limited right now. So what we're going to be doing, as I say, make a copy of this project. We're going to be continuing on from 3b in terms of code in the next part, which will deal with animations and that kind of stuff. And we're just going to make some very nominal changes here and pretty much pretend it didn't happen afterwards. So anyways, the first thing we need to do is just make a couple of changes to our build.gradle file. So the first thing we need to do is import the CardView, CardView support library. Just pop that in there. And as of making this video, the latest version is 23.4.0, and I'm also going to update the other, four other libraries I have here. As you can probably tell, I haven't looked at this in a while. And I typed 24. 23, there we go. Yeah. So we'll just let that finish up. And you're going to need to add that support library in order for our CardView widget to work. So we'll just go ahead and let that build for a minute. Alright. So, what we need to do is go ahead and open up res layout, and then we're going to create a new layout file. And this file is going to be called carditem.xml. And this is going to be the card view that we use as the kind of the, not sure what the word would be, but the layout for each element in the recycler view, or each item in the recycler view, just like our listitem.xml here. Really, the only difference is we're going to be using a card layout, or a card view specifically. Alright, so we've got the default stuff in there. So it's, again, it would take quite a while to go through all of this stuff, and there's nothing really interesting going on here. So I'm just going to copy and paste this in, and then I'll just explain a few things. So we have as the root layout here a linear layout. I'm not actually sure if that's necessary, but that's just the way they do it in the Android. I think the little tutorial is creating cards and lists, and for some reason their card view is wrapped up in a linear layout. Whether that's totally important or not, I don't really know. I've given it a little bit of padding, as you see in the demo. I think that just kind of it's nice not to have the cards squished up together. Whether that should be 16 or whatever, not too big of a deal to me. And then this is the important part here. So this is kind of our main main layout tag that we need to be worrying about, which is the CardView tag itself. So the CardView, I believe, is based off of, or I should say extends, is a child class of the frame layout. So that's pretty much, you can treat it as its own view group. And then just because I like working with the relative layout, I've actually thrown a relative layout in there as well. So as you can see in this layout, we have, in the CardView layout, we have our relative layout, an image view, 2 text views, and a button. So the image view is basically, I tried to keep this as close to listitem.xml as I could, and you'll see why that saves us a little bit of time later on. But what I've done is I've named all of these different elements pretty much the same thing, except for the button. Obviously we didn't have that in there, but these names actually, resource names actually match what's in the code, or match what's in this layout here. So that's just going to save us a little bit of time. So anyways, yeah, nothing too interesting going on here until we actually see the preview, which I don't think it's going to let me do. We won't really be able to see what this looks like. But I tried to do just a somewhat decent looking card view without having you guys download a bunch of images, and yeah, we'll see that in a moment. So is there anything I can even bother talking about here? Yeah, I think I'll just go over this when I can actually show it to you, but don't worry about writing all this stuff down yourself. If you want to just hop over to the blog, I have a link in the description box, and you can just copy and paste this in and save a bunch of time. That's pretty much all the time I'm going to spend on this. So let's just jump over here. So the next thing we need to do is change our derp adapter. So there's a couple important things that are going on here. Most importantly, what we need to do is we need to tell our adapter to use our card item.xml layout instead of the list item.xml layout. And that's kind of the most important change. Fortunately, in order to use cards with the RecyclerView, there's nothing really fancy going on in terms of Java code. You just need to change this resource here. So we're just going to switch that to card item, and that's pretty much ready to go. So make sure you make that change. There's a couple things, a couple quick changes we'll make in onBind view holder. I'm going to do these pretty much keeping in mind that I'm going to undo them in a moment. Again, this is just to kind of show you how to implement the card view. So I'm just going to comment out everything to do with secondary icon, because our view actually doesn't use the secondary icon. So I've commented that area out here. I don't really need to comment that out, but whatever, we'll just do that. So that's secondary icon again. We're going to add a button, and I forget what I called that. We're just going to call that button load, and that is this button here in our card-item.xml. Okay, and we'll of course add that. So we'll say load equals sorry, my typing is pretty terrible today. That's because I was out partying last night and I'm hungover. Alright. BTN. What? Oh. There we go. Sorry, just had a little moment there. And we're going to say load.set on click listener. This. We'll take the on-click listener off of container. Just comment that out there. And we'll just change this to... Actually, yeah, okay, we'll change that to button... whoops. Button card load. And I will just comment out this little line here. So basically all that's happening is we only want it to register clicks on the button itself. In the only other card view that I've pretty much ever made, I actually had it so that the card itself you could click on, and that kind of did like the main action, and then the buttons kind of did more specific actions if you wanted to click on them. I'm not really too sure what Google's preferred patterns are there, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think that is basically all the changes we need to make. Let me just double check in my notes here. Yep, that should be everything. So I will hop over to the preview of the app and we'll have a quick look. Okay, so as you can see here, we have our RecyclerView using cards set up here. Obviously it doesn't look amazing, which I wasn't really trying to set out to spend a whole bunch of time making a really good looking card view. Just wanted to give you guys and girls out there a relative idea of how to set this kind of thing up. So that's pretty much it. As you can see, I probably could have picked a better background color, but it's really not the end of the world there. Maybe set the elevation on the cards. But they still function the same since all the IDs are the same. And when we click on it, as you can see, it takes us back into the other activity. And everything's functioning properly that way. So that's pretty much it. I'll be working on the new tutorial hopefully this week. The animations and stuff like that, it does take quite a while to kind of sort that stuff out. And to be honest, I'm a little bit rusty myself, so it's going to take me some time to make sure I learn that properly, just so I don't lead anyone down the wrong path that way. So thanks for your support, and we will see you in the next video.